Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, I've been working on the Scott's mower here that I got for $27, something like that. I don't remember, but I was correct about the wiring. So, see, this red wire actually goes to the frame, so that's actually the ground. So that's the negative side of the battery. And it had a black wire that went to the starter relay, and that's actually a positive. So I was correct. Somebody dicked around with the wiring. No big deal. Glad I didn't hook it up backwards. I did. I don't know if you can see down in there, you see the starter relay. I replaced that with one of the universal ones that I got from Home Depot. And I think she'll run. I have gone through every bit of wiring, as you can see. There's wires hanging out. There's the key switch right there. The headlights I disconnected because on the headlights, see if I can focus on this. On the headlights, see how ratty those wires are? They were actually stuck together. So I was kind of thinking they probably shorted out. So I just disconnected this harness for testing. And like I said, I went through all the wiring, all the safeties. So in case you're wondering, there's a safety on the seat right there. But if you unplug it, it's got a little button on it that will basically bypass it. So you got to have continuity on all your safeties. This right here, I've got to rerun the wires. I've just got them ran back down there. Your purple wires are for your starter safety, and your white wires will kill if the PTO is not open. It'll ground it. It'll ground it and cut it off. So I tested that. That little red thing right here, that's a diode. I had to look that up. I didn't really mess with all the wiring to the engine as far as the coil and all that stuff. There is a plug right there that goes back to this big harness right down here, which I've stuffed some of it back in there. There's another safety. That safety on the other side goes to your PTO engaged or disengaged. The one that goes through here and right under here is for the brakes. So that's another safety. So I went through everything because after I tested the ignition coil, which you can watch that video. After I replaced the ignition coil, I still couldn't get it to turn over. I got it to turn over once and it just like bumped. That's it. So I wasn't too happy with that. I figured I better keep digging. So I went through all the safeties. I tested for open circuits and closed circuits and all that stuff. And lo and behold, first thing I did after I tested the starter relay, or after I replaced the starter relay, is I tested the key switch to make sure that on this key switch, you've got that purple wire. That purple wire connects to the red wire on the key switch. So I pulled the plug off and I hooked my meter up for continuity from that blade to the red blade. And the very first time I got continuity. So I was thinking, what the hell's going on? So that's what prompted me to go. I checked the fuse. I checked the relay. Everything seemed to be working just fine. So then I went back and I checked the switch again. Well, come to find out, the switch tested good the first time. I guess I wiggled it the right way, but it's wonky. It will sometimes, when you turn it, it will enable and hit the starter. Sometimes you turn it and nothing happens. But if you wiggle the key while you're holding it to the start position, it'll kick over. So all that testing of all the wires and safeties and the relay and the fuse and all that stuff, come to find out it's the dang starter switch. So what I'll probably do is, this mower has that push button right there, and that would lead me to indicate that this is to go in reverse if you have the blades on, which, if you do that, you have two wires that go into this relay, and they just jump two of these connections to keep it from killing and grounding out and killing the mower. So what I'm thinking about doing is just keeping that on all the time, just jumpering those together, and then repurposing that to an actual starter switch or a starter button. Could be fine. I don't care if, you know, you're supposed to push a button to go in reverse while you got the blades on. That's not something you do all the time, and if I do, I'm probably doing it for a reason. So I did find out I was messing with the blades. The blades seem to be locked up. The belt is shot, but I think stuff is wrapped up around the blades. No big deal. I'll clean that out and see if I can free them up. But first, I'm gonna try to get it running. So now that I know the wiring is good for the most part, let's pour some go-go juice down the suck hole and see if she fires one off. Runs! Alright, guys and girls, I've put it back together, wired it all back up, with the exception of the hood and the headlights, of course, because you can tell that's not there. But I cleaned out the gas tank because it had some rubber from the gas cap that had dry rotted and kind of fell in there, so I cleaned that out. Now I'm ready to see if it'll fire with gas in the tank on its own. Let's see what happens. No me gusta. Now it's the next day. A couple of things I forgot. One was the fuel cutoff switch down there. That's another safety. And I forgot to mention the neutral safety switch, which is way down up under there. That should cover all the safeties. As you can tell, it didn't run, didn't start on its own. That prompted me to pull the carburetor off, and check out what I found. Wow guys, I couldn't get it to crank on its own, but I decided to pull the carburetor off, see what was going on. This is a fuel cutoff switch, and the wires on it, they look pretty burnt. That's burnt, that's not dirt. So I was thinking, alright, I will attempt to bypass that or something. So I pulled it off, and man, it was hard to come out. And I pushed the plunger down, it won't even come back up. But I don't think that's the problem. It looks like it's coming up very slowly now. But that's not the problem. After I pulled the carburetor off, I turned it on its side, and I got some red blood looking stuff out of the carburetor. I don't know if you can see it right there on the little rag here. I got gray stuff all over the rag. But whatever they put in there, that stinks. The needle right here, I couldn't get the float off. The needle, you see it's gummed up with stuff. It was stuck. It was stuck in there. It was glued in there. It's like somebody put Gorilla Glue in it. I don't know if it's some after-run oil or something they put in and let it sit up for quite a few years, but this thing's nasty. So I'm going to test this. Oh, the plunger came back up. There we go. I freed it up. But I'm going to try to clean out all this gunk. I'm going to test this. If it works, I'll put it back together like it is. If not, I might just I think you can clip the plunger and it'll still, it just won't work, but it'll allow the mower to run. Now what this was for, they put this on there to cut off the fuel supply when you're killing the engine, so that it helps preventing backfire. But you know, if you don't have it wide open when you cut it off, really shouldn't be an issue. Alright guys, I'm going to clean all this up and we'll be back. As you can see, that carburetor was pretty nasty and it stunk. So I think we are ready to, I've put the carburetor back on. I tested that fuel cutoff little plunger thing, safety switch or whatever it is, and it actually works. I put a little liquid electrical tape around the burnt wire where it could possibly be exposed and short out against the housing. But I tested it and it works. So when you turn the key, you hear it clicking now. So it wasn't doing that before. I also secured the wire there and should be good to go. So let's see what happens. Let me set up the other camera and we'll see if she'll fire off on her own this time again. Alright, so I got it to run on its own by cleaning out the fuel filter. There's pine straw and all sorts of stuff in it. I had another one, but I broke it. So I ended up cleaning that one out the best I could. Now fuel is getting to the carburetor, and I could get it to run on its own and stay running, but it was backfiring through the carburetor. So I wanted to take a look at the valves at least pop the valve cover off and take a look at what's going on and make sure nothing looked bent or anything. And everything looks fine to me. Everything looks fine when you spin it over. It's hard to do with one hand. So it doesn't look really like any of them are sticking or anything like that. So what I'm going to do, I don't have any gasket material or a gasket for this. And it looks like somebody had been in here before because there wasn't a gasket on there. It was like RTV or something. So I'm going to get some of that at some point and put this back together, change the oil. The oil in it looks oddly new. I don't know how long this thing's been sitting, so I'm going to take it out and put some 10W30 in there and see if that helps with the backfire. If not, it looks like I will have to pull the head and check the valves. Well, I've ended this video about 100 times so far. I just keep doing other stuff with the mower. I'll piece it all together in a way that'll make sense. So if I say my salutations more than once, just know that it kept going. As you can see, it's smoking. That's because when I pulled the valve cover off, some oil dripped down on the muffler. I knew that was going to happen. But it's still backfiring through the carburetor. Maybe a burnt or a stuck valve or something like that. But you know, I put the valve cover back on, put fresh oil in it, put about 10 ounces of Marvel Mystery Oil in with it, and it's still backfiring. So, you know what? I'm done for the weekend messing with this. I'm going to go on and do some other things. So, guys, if you like this video and you like the little vlog type fixing the lawnmower, I know I didn't really go through any procedures or step-by-steps or anything like that, but if there's any questions you have as far as anything that I've done, just let me know and I'll be glad to explain. So that's pretty much it for this installment of the Scott's mower. So we'll see you guys next time on Chaos Garage. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I want to thank 266 subscribers. That's awesome. Let's keep it going. All right, guys. Catch you next time.